The FOD runner is live now.
Good evening, guys. We are live with my special guest tonight. It's not Mo Farah, as you suggested on Facebook earlier, but welcome back to the second live stream. And tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about challenges all runners face when running. We've got a couple of special topics to talk about tonight. You've heard enough about me rambling on of my Brecon Beacons race. Well, James did a pretty awesome race last weekend, Sunday, and we're going to talk a little bit about that first off. But welcome, guys. If you're joining, drop a comment in, let us know you're there. I'm just going to get the chat uploaded on here so I can see who's in, who's talking, and we'll get straight into it. And we'll be asking you guys some questions along the way. So,
and as is usual, Andy was late again.
Yeah, as always. There's two people watching at the moment. So anyway, guys, welcome. So what we'll do is we're going to say, good evening, Jeffrey. Jack, hello, mate. How are you doing? Nice to see you. I don't think I've seen you on the channel before. Welcome. So we'll start off. I'll throw the question to you. You can put some questions into the chat whilst we're talking. But the first thing I'm going to say to you guys is the biggest challenge you faced as a runner. Tell us, drop us in the comments, we'll chat about it, and we're going to kickstart this by talking about, obviously you guys, if you follow my channel, you know the challenge I faced recently with the Brecon Beacons race. It was just something completely different, completely out of my comfort zone. So we'll let James talk a little bit about his race that he did, how it put him out of his comfort zone, but what he did, how he got on, which he did really well, by the way. And we'll go from there. So, do you want to tell the guys about the race and what happened?
So, a bit of background. I am relatively new to running, so I've been running since May 2.5 years ago, so not very long. Did a few half marathons and then stepped up to marathon distance in August. Was it August? It was August last year, so yeah. Over 12 months ago. And so done 2 road marathons, did Gloucester, did London this year. Was fortunate enough to get in the ballot first time, which was great. So had 2 cracks at a marathon on the roads. Where we live, it's not very... we have better trails in the Forest of Dean than we have roads.
We do.
And that is typically what I enjoy running. So I thought I would sign up to do a trail marathon. And this was last weekend, and for some reason I thought that a marathon wasn't enough, so I upgraded to run the ultra. So I went from 26 miles to 31 miles, and turned out I ran a marathon anyway because there was a problem with the course marking and we lost 3.5 miles and 1,000 foot of elevation, which actually when I was running it wasn't that much of a problem, but I do kind of feel shortchanged a little bit because I had geared myself up to running an ultra, running 31 miles, running 6,000 feet of elevation, and it didn't happen, so there's always going to be another chance. But it was, talking about challenges, it was a huge challenge because having only run a couple of marathons before and being on roads, this was completely new. This was foreign territory, as in I had to drive 2 hours away.
It's a long way. It wasn't a local race.
Foreign territory. It wasn't abroad, but it was in Devon or Somerset. So they're foreign down there anyway. I don't know if you have any listeners from that part of the world.
I don't know.
Probably just insulted the whole of the south.
Yeah. If you're from that area, let us know.
Yeah. Or don't, actually,
because,
but it was completely different in terms of scenery to what we're usually running around here, in terms of the terrain, even the terrain on the race. So we started off, the first 6 miles were solid uphill, 6 miles across farmers' fields. I don't particularly enjoy running on farmers' fields because I don't particularly enjoy running on grass because traction's poor, but also it had been raining for several days before, so it was completely sodden and muddy and deep, so that wasn't particularly good. But at the start of a marathon, the last thing you want is to be running through that sort of stuff because it drains you from the beginning. So that was an interesting way to start the race. And then forest, coast path, rolling hills, stairs which are just horrendous to run up when you're knackered at 17 miles and your legs are screaming at you already, But you know what? It got it done. A couple of dark moments, pushed through, finished strong, finished in the top 20, and despite it not being the full ultra distance that I wanted to do, it was still a marathon, longest time being on my feet, 4.5 hours, and I enjoyed it, and that's probably the start of something new for me.
I mean, I think you'll all agree in saying that when you go from running, and we've probably all been there, when you go from running roads to running trails to then going from running trails to running something like that, which, how many meters of elevation was it again?
I don't know about meters, but it was 4,500 feet in the end of elevation.
4,500 foot of elevation is ridiculous. Over a marathon distance is something else, so that in itself is a major challenge. And I think tonight we'll talk a little bit more about other challenge other than physical. We'll talk more about the mental as well, but physical challenges, that one's a huge challenge, to be fair, going from road to trail, where we've talked about this so many times. On a road, the goal, I guess, is to settle into a pace and stick it for as long as you can, and you have a different battle, because then towards the end of the marathon the demons start kicking in and how long you've got to hold on for. With a trail, you've got the pros and cons of, it's a bit more acceptable to walk in occasions, especially when you approach a hill, but at the same time, when you're running a road marathon at 23 miles and you've got 3 to go, compared to hitting 18 miles, looking up and seeing a massive steep hill, you just want it done.
It's not just that though, because when you're running flat roads, it's all about consistent pace, and it's all about just hitting it hard. Or it is for me anyway. It's about hitting it hard and being consistent through the miles, being consistent on your splits. Whereas the trails marathon that I did at the weekend, yes, there was a fair bit of walking involved because some of the hills weren't runnable, but then you've got the mental challenge of going from a slow pace to running again. And it's when you're tired and your body's starting to hurt and your legs are screaming at you that they've had enough and you've still got 9 miles to go, it's about the mental struggle then. It's about mental challenge, and it's about actually pushing yourself to get moving again.
Yeah, 100%. The challenge of trying to get yourself moving again after knowing you've got a few miles to go, but you've done all that is ridiculous. We'll just drop into the chat very quickly because there's a lot going on. There's a few new people that I haven't seen before, so we'll start from the start back at the top. Jeffrey, hello mate, I hope you're doing well. Good to see you again. I just saw your comment on Instagram or Twitter, wherever it was, before we came on. I didn't realise this. He said, I forgot it was daylight saving time, so you're now 2 hours behind. So does South Africa not have daylight saving times?
No, they don't change. So it's just us.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Jack, as I said, new face. Good evening, mate. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Run, Frederick, run. Hello, mate. Your video the other day was ace of that run. If you don't know his channel, you must go and check it out. He did a Halloween zombie run, and he had to run. It was like Resident Evil. You had to run through, and there were these zombies. It looked epic. It must have got the adrenaline pumping.
It's like running through the forest with the boar.
Yeah, yeah. Brian, good evening, mate. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Chris, hi. Just arrived at work, so can't hang around. No worries, mate, but we'll re-watch later today. Looks like it'll be a good topic. For me, my struggle has been learning to run to a plan, but not that's a good one. Not just PBs. Totally agree with that. We'll touch on that later. Open mind. Good evening. Or night, guys. Good evening. I think I remember, I'm really sorry I don't know your name, but you said in a comment that you weren't able to make the first one, so welcome to this one. I hope you enjoy. Chris, learnt this the hard way, why I got my injury. Is that why you got your injury? You ran for quite a while with that. But since my comeback, I've learnt my lesson and now adjusting. That's awesome. The Silent Roar, welcome. I don't know if you're a new subscriber or not. I've not seen you around before. Welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. The biggest challenge wasn't a race, it was a stretch of injuries lasting nearly 2 years. Wow. On and off, and really struggled to find the motivation to get back into running. Wow, that's a long time.
Did you find the motivation to get back into running? Answer that question.
Yeah,
that's something that we can talk about.
Yeah, how on earth did you find the motivation? 2 years is a long time. Tell us.
Yeah.
Open mind. Is there a specific topics for tonight's stream? Yes. So we're going to be talking about the challenges runners face. We've talked briefly then about particular races that we've done. So I've talked in my previous one about my Brecons race, which was totally different. James has just explained about the ultra he's just done, and we'll delve into it a little bit further in a minute, and other challenges that people face. So it's kind of about the challenges. So obviously, question to you: what's the biggest challenge you've faced in running so far? Rossa runs. Hello, mate. How are you doing? Great job. Love the live show. Awesome, mate. Thank you.
We're only 10 minutes in. Give it half an hour. You'll
be bored. MPR, hi, legends from Tasmania. How are you doing, mate? You good? Yes, Tasmania. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I've been watching your videos. They're awesome. Welcome to the chat. Run, drink, eat. Hello, mate. How are you doing? Ross... Oh, I lost it. Ultras are 90% mental and 10% in your head. I like that idea. Now you run a lot bigger ultras than we do, so we can't comment on that. But I do agree that there's a humongous mental battle that must play out on that. And I'm sure as time goes on and we maybe tackle some of these distances, but I think he does like 100 milers and 100k, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's not 26.5.
No. The silent roar, so 100% in your head. Oh yeah, 90% mental and 10% in your head. I think what's trying to say there is 90% mental and 10% running. Jeffrey, exactly, silent roar. Right. Run, drink, eat. Yes, that was fun to watch. Right. Running Will. Hey FOD, I really like the channel. Awesome, thank you, mate. Very good of you. It's great to see such a real down-to-earth guy on YouTube. I like you. Thank you very much.
He's talking about me when I make the guest appearances.
Oh, right, okay, not me. Right, we'll come back to the questions in a minute. Hold on. Rossa runs. The idea of non-elite trail ultras should not be based on pace. It should be based on good times. Everything else will fall into place. Mm-hmm. I like that. It
is. And do you know what? Kipchoge's never going to get challenged by any of us, to be fair. So, and I commented on your live stream last week about the adventure that comes with running trails and running ultras, and even just running out of your comfort zone. It's the challenge of that and the fun that comes with it. So definitely, I agree with that comment.
100%. Jeffrey, my challenge is finding the time during the week to do high mileage. I agree with you there, mate. It is difficult, especially when you're working a lot. Run for a runner, thanks. Really glad you enjoyed it. My biggest challenge is coming up the dark times of fall. Yeah, my sister-in-law lives in Sweden. She works at Karolinska University, and she's about an hour outside of Stockholm, and she said it can get really tough during the winter. Your daylight is really limited. In the summer, obviously, it's beautiful. She says it's hard to get to sleep, but in the winter, it's tough. So a struggle that we will probably never face, but I totally agree. And to be fair, mate, a video on that would be quite good, because that's a challenge that not a lot of us will face.
And that's quite an interesting comment though, isn't it? Because actually, talking about our experience here, now the clocks have changed, it's dark by about 4:30 here, and winter running is quite monotonous for us, isn't it? We've done a couple of winters now where it's just trekking up and down the same stretch of industrial estate, lit by dodgy street lights.
And dodgy people.
And sometimes dodgy people, yeah. But it's that mental challenge of how to keep motivated in that type of... when you taking your comment as an example, the dark times of fall and winter, how do you keep yourself ticking over? How do you keep yourself motivated to get out there and not necessarily doing the high mileage, but getting out there and doing any mileage?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're quite lucky. I think actually finding a training partner in the winter is useful, because we can either egg each other on if we're in a workout together, or we can spur each other on, whatever it might be. So we have that benefit where at least once a week we'll try and get out at some point. And you know, when you step out that front door and it's freezing cold, you can barely feel your fingers, the driving rain's in your face, it's better to rock up and see someone else doing it with you. So that's a good thing, have a training partner. Open mind, yeah, that's right. Thanks for remembering me from that brief contact. I think about the topic and see what can contribute. Awesome, brilliant. Well, we're going to press on with we'll let some more questions come in, but I just want to touch a little bit more on the mental side of the challenges now. So from my perspective, going back, so James has been running a little bit less than me, but I've been running just over 2.5 years. So I started in January 2015, and my running career, shall we say, went from going out and running like 6 days a week, from nothing to 6 days a week, full pelt, 2 miles each run, same speed, same pace. So my first challenge came when I actually spoke to someone and they said, what are you doing running at that pace? You need to take it easy. And in my head I was thinking, I knew nothing about running, nothing about training, and I was thinking, well, how? If I'm going to slow down, how am I ever going to get quicker? And it's not until you watch a lot of videos, understand the science of it, and understand how you should run properly to progress, that you start to understand that that's a good thing for your body. But in my mind, that did not add up. So my first challenge, and it took me, even though I started hearing that advice, it took me about 3 months to heed it, and I then started to drop some easy days in, and now it's a complete role reversal. Like, the majority of my mileage, at least 80% of the week, is easy, and even on a workout night I do 2.5 mile warm up, 2.5 mile cool down, so I make sure I'm getting as much easy mileage in. So that was my first challenge. And then after that, the second half of my first year, I had some good results. I went into my second year. I've talked to James about this all the time, and I had the worst second year of running last year ever, because my next challenge, I guess, was setting myself goals that were unachievable. So telling myself that I could run a certain time, or thinking that I was at a certain pace. And when I went out and did a run or did a race and found that I wasn't at the expected pace, it really got me down. So all that made me do, rather than take a step back and logically think and say, how can I stop, reassess, work out what's gone wrong and start again, all I was thinking was, right, I'm going to go out again next time harder and faster, because I know I can do it, and something must have gone wrong the first time. So literally from January through to August, I had the worst. And I was talking to James, and he just kept saying, mate, it's all in your head, just stop and think and be logical. So the time came after the Gloucester Marathon when we both ran it, and we'll be honest, it wasn't the best race for various reasons. Let's just give you a quick blow-by-blow of that. James was ill the week before anyway, so he was wiped out. Yeah. He rocked up from mile 6 onwards.
I went out far too hard.
I was running behind James, and I was like, just this gap was increasing from me and James, and I was like, mate, this is our training pace, and you're bombing off at 6-something pace on our first ever marathon. Anyway, mile 6 and James was pretty cooked. Mile 13 and I started to get cooked. Mile 17 I started walking, and I walked the rest. And all I was thinking was, but it's alright because I've beaten James. And at mile 23, all I heard was this oi oi from behind me, and I turned around and James was there, and he beat me. He had more energy in his legs at the end. We walked and ran a little bit, but we literally had nothing. And anyway, that was just another scenario of bad racing. And it came to the Forest Green Autumn Half Marathon, and at that moment in time I went, do you know what, sod the watch, I'll turn the watch inside my wrist, I'll start it, I won't look at anything, I won't look at splits, I won't look at anything. And I ran on feel, I felt comfortable, I felt great, and that was the first step to me to breaking that mental cycle and being realistic with myself. And I ran a 1:32, and all year I tried to break 1:30, and I knew I wouldn't break 1:30 on that course. But
was that when you were doing your 1:25 series?
Yeah. So I did a 1:25 series in the January, thinking I could run a 1:25, and the reality is I went to Cardiff for the World's Half Marathon in the March and ran a 1:30. So I was nowhere near.
And that was the start of it, wasn't it? That's when you started to tell yourself. That's when your doubts crept in.
Beyond,
because you trained and you done. If you guys go back and look through Andy's videos, you'll see that he did a whole series on running a 1:25 half marathon, and it didn't happen, did it? And that's when you started to creep the self-doubts in. So your problem was mostly mental.
It was, definitely. And I know not every runner's like me. I'm quite competitive, and I appreciate not everyone's like me. But for the competitive people out there, hopefully you'll understand where I'm coming from. And the second I raced that autumn half marathon and ran a 1:32 on that course and felt strong, and it was the first time ever in a half marathon where in the last 2 miles I overtook about 25 people and I came in the top 25 or top 30. I was over the moon, and I was like, this is a revolution, because finally I had a benchmark to work off. I knew if I could run a 1:32 on the hills, I could probably run a 1:28 flat. I then went, about a month later, went out around here, ran a 1:28 flat, or 1:27.56 or something, and the second you have a benchmark is the second you can start working. But I'd started to January assuming I could go from a 130 from running Cardiff in October the year before to running a 125 in 6 months. And yes, it's possible if you've got like 80, 90 miles a week and you're doing, you know, really structured training. Well, I wasn't. I thought I was just burning myself out. Anyway, that's a big waffle into why, you know, some of my mental challenges. Have you got any that you can think of that you've faced along the way? Or you've been quite a grounded runner, to be fair, since I've known you, haven't you? You've not really...
No, you have pipe dreams. I think for myself, I am my own biggest critic. So if something doesn't go the way I want it to, then I probably get a little disheartened by that. But I think for me, I am competitive by nature, naturally want to do better than... for me, running is a solitary thing. I don't compare myself to other people particularly. No. I do, you know, so there are other runners around the forest here that are, you know, having particularly good years this year.
Leakable.
Yeah, and it does spur you on because you look at the way other people run, and it does help to whet the appetite, doesn't it?
Very much so.
But for me, I'm a competitive runner in my own mind. So for me, it's about how I can improve and how I can progress. And progression for me is not necessarily running the same distance faster. It's pushing myself in a different environment. Definitely. And that's why going from the road races to the trail race was that change of environment and that new push.
That's a good point. So you're not challenging yourself on a PB, you're challenging yourself in an environment.
Yeah, it's seeing what I'm capable of doing.
Which is interesting.
And it's you know, the sky's the limit, I guess, with running, because no two courses are the same. You know, no two races are the same. If you do the same course twice, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the same race. You know, you could have had a blinding race the first time and then carried an injury in, or you perhaps weren't dialed in on your nutrition or something like that. So these things all change.
Times.
But there's some really good comments coming in from people
there
about their challenges. And
let's have a look.
Pick up on some of those.
Let's pick back up where we left off. Right. Kennedy 9624. I haven't seen you in the chat. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining in. Hello from Louisville, KY. Which state? Kentucky. I'm really sorry. My states are terrible. Awesome. Finished a half 2 weeks ago and having a really hard time getting back into running because of the cold.
Cold weather, presumably.
Yeah, I don't blame you. When you come off the back of a race, either one or two things happen. You either want to race out of the blocks like a lightning bolt and just get back into it straight away, and then you don't recover properly and then you get injured. Guilty many times. Or you want to take a break and you take a break and you take a break and a break and a break, and then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, a week's gone by, 2 weeks gone by, 3 weeks gone by, and you just don't have that motivation to get up because you kind of, that goal in your mind of finishing a certain thing, you know, it consumes you for so long, and when you tick that box, when you do it, kind of your mind is satisfied almost. And unless, I think, you have the next goal in mind straight away, you don't have that initial get up and go to go out there and get straight back out there. And to be fair, mate, I do understand about the cold. As I said, it really helps to have a training partner. We will go out at least once a week, whether that's our long run or a weeknight session, whatever, to do that.
But you know what, a good tip for that is, if, let's say you finish work and you're planning on going for a run, you might get home, you might sit on the sofa and go, can't be bothered. Get home, put your kit on, walk out the door, because the easiest thing to do is to sit down and not bother, but as soon as you're out that door, you haven't got a choice, and it's just about breaking that cycle. Yeah, definitely. Well, if you tune into the live stream next week, we'll do another one next week, let me know if you have got back out that door, because that would be awesome to hear. The silent roar, it was so tough when I went back to training at the track with my club. I was running with the girls 2 years younger than me, so I started watching some videos, mostly Harry Runs and VO2 Max Productions. Yeah, Harry Runs is brilliant. Really enjoy Harry. Follow up to that, so then I worked my arse off to get back to a similar fitness. So good for you. That's awesome, mate. And eventually surpassed it in just under a year later. Good work. Wow, mate, that's amazing. Fair play. You've got more determination than I have, probably. I'd just like to say, yeah, Harry Runs is brilliant, and obviously Sage Canada, VO2 Max Productions.
Right, the Irish Fun Runner. Good evening, mate. Same with me. I started doing tempo runs every day. It must be a thing. We must all just kind of want to go out there and just blast as quick as we can.
I think as a novice or as a new runner, I think all you want to do is just improve time. That is your
goal.
Gauge, isn't
it?
So
definitely.
Every run that you do is an increase. Or for me anyway, it was every new run was I'd added a bit of extra on, or I'd run a bit quicker, and that was my goal. That was what my motivation was. So I think, especially as a teenager, it's probably
same thing. It's about
goals,
speed, isn't it? And I think now for me, the gauge of improvement for me now is, I don't know if you guys, if you do follow me on Strava, you'll understand. You'll see I go out for long runs, and so over the last year and a half, we have built our long runs up, and I've made a point all the time that my long runs will continually grow. So by the end of last year, December, I was hitting 15 miles consistently on my long runs. I'm now up to, I try and keep a minimum of like 17, 18 miles. And so the day I go out and realise that maybe 17, well, the day I went out and realised 16 was comfortable, I went to 17. The day I went out and realised 17 was comfortable, I went to 18. Last week I did 19, and that's kind of where I'm going to stay. And it's just that continual progression and feeling good when you're out there at an easy pace. So it's not for me about now going faster over a distance, it's about how long can I run, which I think in my mind is signalling that maybe I would like to try some ultras in the future for sure. The distance really appeals to me, and just to get really good at the marathon. However, I don't want to neglect the speed, but for me that's my challenge. Right, runner Adam Snyder, good evening. I haven't seen you on the channel before. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Hey there from Fort. Okay, I'm going to try and pronounce this. Fort Gratio.
And is that Michigan?
Michigan. I finished an 8K last Saturday. Awesome, and I had a blast. That's amazing. After running, I got some back problems. What happens when running? Oh, I do know all about those. What happens when running that distance? I'm not sure 100% what you mean there, but if you're talking about the back problems, so what I'd recommend is, and I've just recorded a video for someone else's channel, and I talked all about this. Is the second you finish any run or race, if you have access to or can, stretch and foam roll, whatever it is. If I don't stretch and foam roll my back for like a week, so if I run for a week consecutively and don't do it, my back, I just curl over like this, I seize up. I've had some great advice recently for my back, and please consult your doctor or whatever before you do anything. But what I've been advised, because I have a bit of a curl at the top here and I get lower back pains, is to actually hang off something. So just let your back hang, and it stretches all your back muscles out. It does a downside better job than a foam roller. So I've got a kid's swing out in the garden. I just go and hang off it for about a minute at a time. It looks really weird, but honestly I've been doing it for a week and my back has never ever felt stronger in months. I've had no pain. So if you're getting back pains, go and speak to someone. But for me, that helps just stretch everything out. Advice would be definitely stretch and roll.
Yeah, and that sounds possibly like it's a core strength. Possibly you need to do a bit more core work to build up the strength in your stomach and your back. So maybe look at doing some planks and that sort of stuff. There's videos all over YouTube that you could probably find.
There is indeed. Right, the silent roar, then I work my... Oh yeah, so that was the comment we picked up on Brian. The biggest challenge has probably been not knowing when to back off. Yes. I follow training plans and I feel like if I miss a workout I fall behind, and it's probably contributed to injuries. I was exactly the same until earlier this year, and what I realised was if I got out the door and I had a workout on the plan, and we've done this a couple of times but don't feel up to it, I just swap it for an easy run, because I think to myself, at least I'm running, at least I'm getting the miles in, but I'm not pushing myself to potentially cause that injury, because I've done that. I've been there many times. When we were marathon training earlier in the year, we had some long run workouts to do. So in our long run, we might put some marathon paced efforts in there, half marathon pace. I never forget stepping out that door to you on a 17 miler one morning and saying, we've got a workout today, mate. I'm not feeling up to it. I just want to get the distance done. And actually, I had an awesome time.
I took you up on the hills.
Yeah, he took me up on the hills anyway, and it just made no difference. It was brilliant. So I agree with you. If you're ever in doubt, easy run. Running is one of the only things I enjoy, which pushed me. Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Definitely the silent rule. Brian, the next big challenge is creating my own training plans that are more suited to me. I'm just doing that now. And I'll share it with you on one of my videos, but not sure if I have the knowledge to do so yet. So what I'm doing is we together have had a plan made for us at the beginning of the year by a running coach for our 20-mile race, and I did that plan again in May. So I've done that plan twice. It has been revolutionary to my running. It's been brilliant, but I'm starting to now. Obviously, I'm in the season now for me for shorter distances, and I will probably do some shorter distances early next year. So I need to tune that down a little bit. So maybe cut off the top end of it and add some shorter speed stuff to the bottom. But I've got the fundamentals, and now I'm starting to learn and understand more that on a weekly basis you need to be spending a bit more time in the right zones. I'm starting to have the understanding of how to build a plan. It takes time, I think, but it will come, and I'm sure that when I do my first one it will be wrong. But
and I would also add to that, Brian, that if you're building your own training plan, make sure it's tailored to the type of race that you're looking to do. So if it's a hilly trail race, then you want to spend time running on hills and doing hill repeats. But if it's a fast 5k, you want to focus a bit more on doing speed work. If it's a half marathon, then you want to do a bit more tempo runs, and it's tailoring what you're training towards.
Definitely.
And fitting that in where you can.
Silent Roar, sorry, got to go for dinner. No worries, mate. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. That's awesome. I'll catch you next time. The Irish Fun Runner. As people get older, they get too serious, and running with them is not as fun. More people drop out. I do agree with that. Growing up means getting boring in today's society.
But we get out to escape the wives, don't we, most of the time?
To be honest with you, I agree. I agree and disagree with that. I agree in the fact that people drop out. Yes, I agree that they do take it too seriously. But then at the same time, if they're taking it seriously, maybe they have a goal in mind that they desperately want to achieve, and suddenly it becomes their number one focus. For us, for both of us, we both have wives and kids. We've both got 2 kids. They're young. Running for us is I'm not speaking on behalf of James, but you know, we both talk about it. It's a release from our daily lives. It lets us go out, blow off some steam, and it's a goal. It's something we can both work towards progressing on. So it's something that we have outside of quote unquote boring lives. That we can have fun with, and for me in particular, the YouTube channel allows me to share that journey with you. So yeah, I do agree with you, but I think if people are getting serious, then maybe they have that you know, that desire, that want to grind hard and get the best out of themselves. And I will just say, mate, I enjoyed your Dublin Marathon video of that. It was very good, awesome for volunteering as well. Brian, weight loss is another big one for me. I've lost 28 kilos since starting running last year. What?
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Well done. Got another 5 kilos to go.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. I don't know what to say to that, mate. That's incredible. Well done. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And probably a challenge in itself that we weren't going to discuss, but probably a challenge there that you know, is well worthy of discussing. Rossa runs. Once you get to a certain physical capability, it turns into almost a mental and nutrition for nutrition. Yes, nutrition. I've had trouble taking calories in for 100k and 100 miles. I'm not surprised. We were talking about that. Just to give you an example, James takes in a lot of calories over his races, and you said to me that you got to mile 18 and you just were sick of tailwind, were sick of everything, and you didn't take anything until
I finished.
Yeah, so from mile 18 to the end, took nothing on because he was so focused on taking in calories. And I agree. I think there's a good, you know, point there that nutrition is huge. So if you get that wrong,
and that's, you know, it's a big thing anyway, isn't it? Because if you're doing the longer runs and you're on your feet for longer, then you need to balance the effort levels with what you're putting back into your body. And over here in the UK, certainly on the trail runs that I've been on, you don't have well stocked aid stations. They generally will have jelly beans, or they'll have water, or crisps or something like that, but you don't have you don't have real food. So actually, if you're carrying stuff, you have to carry it yourself. So I am still learning. I'm still experiencing what my body needs. So my race nutrition was Tailwind, goos, it was goo waffles. And by the time I got to the 18, I was sick of the sweet stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't then about, I didn't feel like I needed the calories, but I did need the calories, if that makes sense. So it's not, your body doesn't crave stuff, it doesn't tell you that it needs something, but you know you need to be putting in because you're still expanding the energy. So that's 100k and 100 miles is a different world altogether to what we're used to running. So
and we watched the videos of sort of you guys across the pond running these amazing trail races, and you look at the aid stations, you watch Run Steep, Get High or Ginger Runner or Sage, and they've got these aid stations. In fact, Sage's video yesterday from VO2 Max Productions, he was at some 100 miler and he just went around the table. Yeah, that was it. And you're like, wow, we don't have anything. Well, okay, we're not experienced pros in ultras here, obviously, but we know a lot of ultra companies around here that run ultra races. The race that I ran in the Brecons, they run lots of ultras. The race that you do run ultras, and they're quite big companies in the UK, and they have basic aid stations. So yeah, nutrition is definitely a topic on the list to discuss. Jack, for me the challenge is making sure I actually listen to my body properly, taking time off when needed and don't go full pelt all the time. Exactly, something I started doing this year is after a big race, taking a week off regardless. Over Christmas I took 9 days off, and since then I will run on average between 30 to 50 miles a week. It normally sits around 40, and I do that for a good 2-3 months, and then whenever I hit a race I have a week off regardless of if I feel like I need it or not. It's always good to push the reset button, but it is one of the hardest things to do because that first couple of runs back is a killer. Kennedy, you were correct. Louisville, Kentucky, home of Kentucky Derby horse race. Awesome. Open mind. Should I set my goals lower in my position? I'm a new runner and they're reasonable ones. I mean, that trying to set a big lofty goal and lose motivation, I don't attain it. Well, to be honest with you, mate, that's what I did. Hold on, you've got another comment. I'm still new and have been advised to aim for a professional 10k and half marathon when my original aim was...
Oh, where's it gone?
Oh, hold on. Right, when my original aim was to run a marathon for charity close to my family's situation. I think running for charity is always a nice thing to do, and it always gives us that extra motivation. For me personally, I would always I'm not an expert or a coach, but I'd always recommend starting off smaller and getting used to the distance. We've talked about this all the time. We feel like we're pros now at half marathons. We know how to listen to our body, when to push, when not to push, but there's no distance. You've got a 5k, a 10k, a half marathon, and in between there you can get some 10 milers, and then a half marathon. So you've got quite a close, so you can progress nicely, and then you go half marathon. So you've suddenly got to learn to do another 13 miles, and it's a heck of a progression. And you're either going to be really lucky and run your first marathon amazingly, or you're going to learn lessons hard like we did, and then ready for your next marathon, and so on and so on and so on.
I would say though, do what you want to do. You're saying you've been advised to aim for a professional 10k and half marathon when your original aim was to run a marathon. Why don't you run a few races to build up to the marathon distance?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, running a marathon is... I don't think you're ever going to really be prepared for your first marathon. It doesn't matter how long you train, it doesn't matter how many miles you put in on the weekends, on your long runs and things. It's gonna suck, basically. So just do what you want to do. Build up slowly, get the miles in, listen to your body on your training, set realistic goals. If you set a big lofty goal, as you say, and you don't get it, you might lose the motivation. So have a few goals. So set yourself maybe you want to run in a certain time, or maybe you want to run a certain distance without walking. I don't know, that sort of stuff. So be realistic with what you want to achieve.
Definitely, I do agree. It's what you want to do. Don't, I set myself too lofty goals and I plummeted and failed, and then it was really disheartening. I'd fully recommend what James said, doing what you want to do, running a few races, finding out what your times are, what your paces are, what you can do easily, what's harder, and going from there, definitely. I'm conscious of time, guys, so we're going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes time, so we'll get through these last few questions, and if there's any more points you want to get through or challenges you've had to discuss, drop them in the comment section now. Runner Adam Snyder, thanks for your advice. No worries. Rossa runs can be shoes, your gait or foot strike if you're able to, or you may be too tense when you're running as well. Yeah, that's very true. Something that I've seen many people say, if you're too tense, go for a short run, do a 5k, maybe a 1 miler, 2 miler, 3 miler, roll up a piece of paper very loosely, like this, so it's like a little treasure map, little spyglass, and run with it like that. So run for 3 miles or a short run, and if you come back to the end and your paper's like that, then you know you're running too tense, or if it's as it was, you know you're nice and relaxed. You've got to be thinking all the time, shoulders relaxed, that sort of thing. That's a good point.
Just being conscious, isn't it?
Yeah, just being conscious. Irish Fun Runner. Another challenge is people trying to make me follow their advice even though I'm convinced they're wrong. This happened with my brother and my dad. Yeah, I remember watching your vlog about that, mate. I do remember, and I think it's really important that... I think it's important to try things and do listen to other people, but at the same time, the second you start to think something's up or something's wrong or it's not working for you is the second you have to say, okay, this isn't working for me. I'm just going to do what I want to do, because at the end of the day, more than anything, we run for fun. Unless we're an elite athlete, we run because we enjoy it, because we want to push ourselves, because we want to challenge ourselves, and we want to be the best that we can be, but we want to be enjoying it. The second the enjoyment gets taken out of it because we're doing things that we think are wrong or we're doubting other people, is the second that you completely lose all motivation. So I do agree. Run Frederick, run. Thank you for this live. Got some great tips. Got to go fight off some zombies. Mate, good luck. Thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, your video was awesome. Take care, mate. Run, drink, eat. Start with what your body tells you. Exactly. Being consistent helps attain those long distance goals. Exactly. So I will ensure that I run 4 days a week, regardless, whatever those days are. I was away last week on holiday. I normally run Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. If you've seen my video from a couple of weeks ago, that week I ran Monday before I went on holiday, I ran Wednesday on holiday, I ran Friday when I got back, and Saturday. So the days were different, but the time is the same mileage. Keep it consistent and you'll fly. Open mind, thanks. Yeah. Run, drink, eat. I started 15 months ago running. Awesome. Went from couch soon to be marathon. So if I can do it too, but like I said, listen to your body. I didn't realise you went from couch to marathon, mate. That's awesome. Fair play. Tailwind, I love that stuff. I've got a sachet up there of 6 different flavours. I'm going through them at the moment, but I'm not using them on my training runs for the moment, but I've gone through about 3 flavours. I like the green tea flavour, I like the lemon flavour, I do not like the berry flavour, that's his favourite.
No.
And I've tried another one.
Lemon, that's my favourite.
Lemon's good.
Yeah.
One challenge has been Irish Fun Runner. One challenge is not letting failure or setbacks get you down. I've had low moments. It's not nice. No, exactly. I think, as I said before, I had enough of them last year. You've had some. We've all had them.
And that goes back to that first comment at the very beginning, which is 90% mental, 10% in your head. So if you start to let things get you down,
yeah,
or you let things start to affect your confidence, that's another big problem.
Yeah, it is, definitely. It's about taking a step back, not going into yourself and hiding away, but just going, right, I'm going to push the reset button and do what I want to do for a bit, and then crack back on with it. Brian, it's going to suck. Yeah, definitely. Open mind, thanks to me and James. No worries, mate. Jeffrey, Mandarin Orange. Yeah, I haven't. I tried some of James's, but I haven't had that on a long run. Do you like that one?
It wasn't my favourite, being honest.
Fair enough. We're all different. Run, drink, eat. Yes, orange flavour is, yeah, definitely good. Right, that's all the comments, guys. So we're going to wrap this up. I just quickly want to go back to the very first comment from Chris. He said, very quickly, for me, my struggle has been learning to run to a plan, not to PB. So, like what I said to you earlier about me going out and running hard every day, and learning that that's not the way, and getting onto a plan and running easy and that sort of thing. That's obviously his challenge. I think it's a lot of our challenges. I think someone else, was it Brian, did you mention it, sticking to a plan? Or someone mentioned sticking to a plan earlier. It's sticking, when you go from not running onto a plan to a plan, is very your body almost wants to rebel against it because you've been used to just going out and running free and doing what you want to do, and suddenly you've got this regimented thing where you've got to do. I think until you've done a whole training plan and you see the benefits at the end of the training plan, does your mind allow you to be a bit more accepting of it? Because I think if you don't know the benefits of a plan that the plan's going to have to you in the long run, you can rebel a little bit against it, and then you can start going, no, I'm not going to do what the plan does. And I think that's a really valid point. I don't know if vegan runner, I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but yeah, anyway guys, vegan runner, good evening mate. James is in the house.
Literally in the house.
Literally in the house.
Physically.
So guys, we'll wrap this up in a minute or so. If you've got any other comments, leave them below. Or vegan runner, I just wanted to say good luck with your 16-minute 5k attempt this weekend. Is that right? Or was it next weekend? One of the two. Good luck. As I said to you all the time, I can't stalk you on Strava anymore, so I can't see what your training's like, but I hope it's going well, and I hope you've picked back up from your cold the other week. And I'm enjoying your live streams at the moment too. Jeffrey, sup vegan runner. So yeah, if you've got anything else guys, do leave it comments below. But other than that, can you think of any other challenges? Oh, vegan runner, tips for pacing my 5k. Even, negative or positive? Well, I'm just going to say one thing before you chime in, because I know you have a good opinion on this, but I remember watching your videos and you were positive splitting them. Because you were going out and then you would run like a 5:20 something, then a 5:40 and a 5:50. Is that right? Something like that. And I think personally, ideally, you want it to be the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That sounds to me like you've gone out too fast and you're trying to hang on.
Yeah.
I'd go the other way around. If I would go out, I would slow it down a bit in the first mile, relax into the second, and then just spank it the third.
You can't, yeah, spank it the third.
Yeah.
On Strava the other day, I did some 400s, and I've never done 400s at this pace before. And I went out, and I was on trails, I wasn't on the track, and I ran a 1:21 for the first one, which was too slow, but it was just to bed myself in. Then I ran a 1:18, and then I consistently hit 1:15s and 1:16s, so that was my pace. But I ran that first rep 6 seconds slower, and what that enabled me to do was not go out too hard in the session and last for the duration. I always find it better just to ease yourself into a session. So mate, I'm not one for giving you advice, because you are darn sight quicker than I am. However, what I would say is, honestly, don't try and hang on at the end. You want to feel strong, you want to have something in your legs at the end to kick. Now I know you've got some guys coming down to race with you. I personally, looking at those splits, when you run a 5:20 something, 5:40 something and 5:50, I would probably try and go 5:40 for the first one, and then realistically, I don't know what you've got to do to get under a 16k, but I think you're capable of even splitting 5:30s, taking an average from what you've done. So I'd probably go early 5:40s and then 2 5:30s. That would be ideal if you can find someone to do that.
You often get excited at the start and pay the price.
Yeah, definitely.
We're all victims of that. I think we all get excited at the gun. And the thing is, with the 5k, it's not long enough for you to try and make it back up again. So if you've gone out too hard to start with, you've only got 2 more miles to try and make up for the for the thing. But do you know what? It's only 16 minutes of it's only 16 minutes of pain, but it's only 16 minutes that you're aiming for. So if you go out too hard, then you've only got 2 more miles to suffer. So if you can just keep your legs moving one in front of the other, which is the old running cliche.
Yeah. Look at it this way, your PB at the moment was 17 something, so even if you don't hit 16 but you run decent even or negative splits and get a low 17, that is a phenomenal achievement. I mean, I'd love to get into the 17s. I think I'm capable of it, and I will try and blast one out soon. However, I know to do that, I couldn't just go out and then try and hang on for 2 miles. I'd need to go out sensibly and then know that I've got something in the tank at the end. I would seriously see if someone's there can go at 5:40 pace and then look to kick on in front for mile 2. Brian, I watched a Macmillan running video and they recommended even or very slight negative split. I mean, ideally you don't want a positive split because mentally that's tough on you, I think. I think mentally it's tough, isn't it?
I guess it depends. If you've got a watch and your watch is telling you you're running slower,
Yeah.
then that's never a big confidence builder.
No.
But if you can negative split and you have got a watch that's telling you your splits, then yeah, I guess mentally that helps.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a short race. 5K is only a short race, so you
Yeah.
just want to be consistent. So good luck to you. I would not want to try and run a 16-minute 5K. I hate running fast, so
No.
it's not my thing. Good luck.
No. Jeffrey, I prefer negative splits. Yeah, I mean, I like to do negative splits if I can. But for me, if I'm going fast or running a 5 or 10k, as long as I don't fall off the wagon, I don't care. Vegan runner, thanks yourself and get excited at the start and pay the price in the last mile, mate. That's what I used to do all the time. But I'm definitely trying to chill in the first mile and ease into it. My best race was an even pace cross country. I took over 80 people second half. Exactly. And do you know what? That feeling of overtaking 80 people is incredible. I don't know if you were watching earlier. I said to you last year, my half marathon, I overtook about 15-20 people in the last 2 miles of a half marathon, and I have never buzzed so hard because I thought all of them have faded. I'm strong, and it was, you know, it was the best feeling ever. And you'll feel the same, mate. 100%. And to be fair to you, I've never run cross country ever. I need to, because I know cross country is just a different ball game. It's not like going and running a park run. It's like insanely hard. So your 36-minute effort, you know, was just shy of a 10k the other week is incredible, mate. Jeffrey, those 80 people were positive splitters.
Love it.
Definitely, 100%. Brian, yeah, exactly, yeah, that's a good comment. So anyway, guys, we better wrap this up. It's been about 55 minutes that we've been waffling on to you now. If you've got any last questions, quickly post them now. We'll say thank you very much, all of you, for listening. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the comments, the feedback. As always, you guys have been awesome. Thank you to the new people that tuned in this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Rossa runs, nice chatting with everyone. Time to go and run some mountains, mate. Go and have a good one. Go and enjoy yourself. Great live stream. Your channel has a lot of influence on my channel. Top man, thank you. Really appreciate that. Jeffrey, cheers. Good luck. The Irish runner and lack of support or encouragement. We run so many miles alone. I agree, mate. And as I said, training partner definitely makes life a lot easier. Jack, thanks for streaming, guys. Mate, no worries. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Jeffrey, it was great to talk again. It was great to talk to you too, mate. Listen, any other fellow YouTubers in the chat now, we definitely got to look at doing some chats. Some of these live streams can turn into maybe a chat between us. It'd be good to connect with some of you more. That would be awesome. Let's try and sort something out there. Brian, take care, everyone. Thanks for the video, mate. Thank you for tuning in, really appreciate it. Jeffrey, good to see you, James. I'm off to check I'm off to check if Spurs are beating Real Madrid, because that is my priority right now. And have another cup of tea. I hope you guys have enjoyed it all. In fact, you're going to check for me now.
I am going to check for you now.
Take care, guys, in the chest. Open mind, mate. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it tonight. Thanks for coming along tonight. Jeffrey, I know what the score is.
3-1 up against Real.
3-1. 3-1 up. Who scored? This is completely off topic. This is a running stream. And I'm checking the Spurs score.
Dele Alli, Ericsson.
Dele Alli scored 2 and Ericsson.
And then Ronaldo.
Real Madrid who? Huh? We're qualifying. You're not. Right, enjoy these lives. Irish Fun. Mate, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. As I said, I'm enjoying your content at the moment. Keep it going. Jeffrey, Ali, 2 and Ericsson. You're a United fan, aren't you? You beat us on the weekend. I shouldn't be talking to you. Anyway, enough of that, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We're going to end the live stream here. I will aim to do this again next week. We'll have another topic, and we shall see you again next time. Until then, guys.